How to manifest the job that you want. Hey y'all, it's your girl Kira back with another video. In today's video, I would like to share a little story about how I manifested the job that I wanted with the pay that I wanted. If you're new to my channel, this channel is all about becoming the best version of yourself. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button and stick around for this story. First, I like to say, if you don't believe in manifesting, or you don't believe that you've already been doing it, just know that we are always manifesting. If you don't believe in manifestation, just walk outside. If you walk outside, everything that is outside of nature was manifested by humans. Everything outside of what was here when we got here was manifested collectively through all of us. So regardless if you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, you're always manifesting. So that's something to keep in mind. The first step in manifesting is deciding what you want. So in 2014, I was working for a big company, and they did a huge layoff. I didn't look for a position immediately after that. If you know me or you go back and look at my story, I always knew that working for someone was not for me. But during that time, especially if you're in the mortgage industry, if you know anything about the mortgage industry, there's periods of times where, things are going good, and then there's a layoff. I've been laid off a few times in the industry. But in 2014, I was laid off, and it was pretty hard to find a position, whether it would be mortgage, which generally pays decent, depending on which position that you're in. But it was hard for anyone basically to find a job. You'd be lucky to get, I don't know, $15 an hour. So I ended up taking a position with another bank. It was underpaid, $17 an hour, but at the time it was what I needed. Mind you, I was struggling. I needed, bills were piling up. I was not making what I was making before. So at that time I was working there, and I had also gotten a second job at a department store. But I made a decision. So number one is deciding what you want, as I said. So I made a decision. I need to make this amount of money, and I want this position. I was very specific in what I wanted. So I decided that I wanted to be a mortgage loan processor, and I wanted a pay of at least a base pay of $45,000. And I wanted incentives, because usually when you're a processor or a closer or in sales, mortgage sales or underwriting, you get a monthly bonus. So I decided that I wanted at least $45,000 base pay and incentives on top of that. The next thing is believing that it was possible. So I knew that it was possible because I had been in the mortgage industry for years, so I knew the different parts of mortgages and the positions and what they would pay, and so I knew that it was possible. The only thing was I had never been a loan processor before. I'd done post-closing, I've done different positions, funding, different positions throughout the mortgage industry, but of course they want you to have experience. But I believed that it was possible. I believed that if someone gave me a chance, and most of them do training classes anyway, I'm not slow. I can learn. I know all the mortgage documents, give me a chance and I'll be able to do it. So I believe that it was possible that I could get that position with that pay. So then I started, I like to doodle. So I would go in to work every day and just doodle down, write down, this is what I want. You know, I did all kind of calculations, you know, all this stuff. But I would get up every morning and go into work, do my work, and in between or before I started or whenever I had time, I was online looking for jobs, tweaking my resume to fit the job description that I wanted. Every job that came across, I would apply for. Now, mind you, the job that I was on was a temporary position. It was only paying $17 an hour. It was soon coming close to an end of that job, and I'm still looking for, I'm still applying, still looking. They decided to bring people on permanently. But before they decided to bring me on permanently, I had already applied for another position within that same company, which was a loan processor, even though I heard that they didn't pay that well. But again, I knew the amount that I wanted, and I wasn't going to settle for anything less, so I thought. And it's crazy how the universe starts to conspire to work in your favor. So I went ahead and I accepted the position with that company as a mortgage loan processor, but they only wanted to pay me $38,000 with no bonuses. I tried to do a counter, but they're like, no, this is firm, $38,000 firm. I went ahead and accepted it, although the position that I was sitting in, when they came to offer that, they offered a base pay of $44,000. But it still didn't have any incentives, and I really didn't like the company anyway. I just, I needed something. I needed to keep working, so I just went ahead and took the other position. So they wanted, even though the training class was like a month out, they wanted us to start the position and just do side by sides with the other people who were already working there in the mortgage loan position. Mind you, I went on a few interviews for processing that paid more outside of that, but I didn't get the job. One interview I went on, I walked out of there and I'm like, man, I know I ain't get that shit. I know I ain't get that job. But again, I ended up taking this one, and they required us to do side by side. What better place to be than side by side with people who are doing the position already? So I had a chance to soak up the game that they were given. During this time, I'm steady applying, still applying. I've written down what I wanted. I was very specific, $45,000 a year at least, and then incentives on top of that. So again, step number 4 is doing the work. The work was me going in, that the universe conspired for me to sit side by side by these people and soak up what they're doing all day as a processor. A new company ended up posting, because I was always on the job boards trying to see what was out there and this, that, and whatever. So a new company was coming to my city and they were hiring, and I immediately knew that I was gonna get that job. Lo and behold, I submitted my resume and they called and they did for the first initial hire. They were moving in and they needed to start their team immediately when they came, so they did like a job fair style hiring. When I got there, everything went smooth. They even gave a test that had some questions on it, but I had soaked up game from sitting in around the people that I was sitting around that were doing loan processing already. And now the training class had begun, so I had got some information from there as well. Now, I'm not completely illiterate to a lot of things in mortgage, because I had been in mortgage by this time at least, I don't know, maybe going on 15 years or so. So I know like everything about a closing, documents, I know it front to back already, but it's just a different job function, which is crazy to me how companies can do that and say, oh, you don't have the experience. Well, I'm in the arena of the experience. But anyway, so this new company, they did like a job fair style interview. We came in, we had to do a test. I knew some of the questions on the test and some I didn't. So it was so many people there. We were all spread out. I pulled out my phone and Googled the answers. So I went and, finished the test. I Googled the answers that I didn't feel like I knew, or to clarify that I was answering the questions correctly. I went on, they did a first and a second interview. Fast forward the next day, they called me and they offered me the job. $45,000 base pay plus incentives. Okay. Once they, I got the job or whatever, but one step I did not mention during that time, again, I was going through everything that I was going through. I was working 2 jobs. One other thing, step 5, is surrounding yourself with positivity. I was listening to nothing but positivity. Hey, I had to back off from friends. I wasn't focused on nothing but getting my shit right and getting this job that I wanted, and with what I asked for. That's all I was focusing on. Hey, I don't want to talk about my problems. I don't want to talk to you about your problems right now. I got a goal, I got a problem and a solution, and a goal and a solution, and that's all it is. That's all it was. So that's a very key component into getting where you want as well. Don't sit around talking about your problems and what happened and all this. You found what you wanted. You believed that it was possible. You wrote it down specifically. You did the work, and you keep positivity around you. That's what I did, and I got the job. And I started that job, and not only was I getting monthly incentives, they would do like spins where we could get these gift cards, and I'm talking about I was buying foam mattresses and all kind of stuff from just winning these gift cards. And don't be afraid of if it's gonna work. When God has something for you, let me tell you, I had never been a processor before. I ended up being one of the top processors at my site and in the top 25 in all sites. So don't ever feel like, don't let that fear of you getting there and you not making it. If it's for you, it's gonna work. Definitely, no, without a doubt. So I ended up getting that job. I was getting those incentives plus monthly incentives. Then they offered us to take a test to be bumped up to a processor level 2. I got a job, I got a raise there, and I got a raise when my first year came around. And then they changed the bonus structure. So I went from making $45 a year plus maybe, I don't know, up to $2,500 a month in bonuses to $5,000 and $6,000 a month bonuses, plus base pay, plus overtime, plus all the other incentives that were given out during that time on the job. So all in all, again, you want to decide what you want. You want to believe that you can get it. You want to write it down and be specific. You want to do the work, and you want to surround yourself with positivity. If it ain't on the level you're trying to be on, it don't need to be around you. So again, we're always manifesting. Take advantage and do it consciously. Anything that I've ever wanted, if I look back on my life, those are the steps that I took. Those are the steps that I will continue to take anytime if there's something that I want, I focus on it, I work towards it, and I let the universe conspire the rest. There's no coincidence that I got hired for the same position with a lesser pay, but it put me in the position to get the knowledge, or the smidgen of knowledge that I didn't have, and being around people and soaking up all the information, so that when I got there to the interview, it was smooth sailing. It was smooth sailing. Everything went well. My boss, y'all, my boss was the bomb. Like, I never had a cooler boss. He didn't bother me. I didn't bother him. Long as I did my work and came and went, you know, everything just, it was for me. I know that I manifested that. I know that it came packaged, sealed, and delivered just for me. And it can for you as well if you follow those steps. So that is how you manifest the job or anything, the career, the business, or whatever you want. Do the work, stand the course, stay positive, and it'll come to you, and it's gonna show up even better than you could have ever imagined. So decide what you want, believe in you, and go for it. Again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, and I hope and wish you have the best day ever. And I'll holler at y'all next time. Yo.